I missed you. I catcalled you yesterday on 7th Street. You didn't hear me. I sure did. He didn't hear me, so no harm, no foul.
Sorry? Yeah. Oh, really? Okay, we have to change that then. Okay. Entonces, ¿te lo das? Amado, aquí. Sí, te digo. Entonces, tú no creo que estés. No, no. Con tu nombre ya sí te tengo para otro.
So happy to see you. Thank you. Thank you. I signed, sir.
You signed?
That's okay.
Microphone. Turn your microphones on. Turn your microphones on. Okay. Mark.
Yeah, we'll have to do a high temperature one. We'll spray the back, let's dry it out in 7. and then Black Road.
We just have
So
to
to
be
think
careful
about
because we just painted the exterior.
Oh, no,
So we don't
I,
wanna-
for some, because it's mounted on.
Yeah,
on
it's
that
all
thing.
done.
Mr. Velez,
We just put, cardboard.
what? Are you ready?
Yeah, but eventually we take it down.
Let's go.
Thanks. Hi.
And we
It was
use the blue
very
tape,
nice.
so
Turned
I'm
out
not gonna
very
go use
well.
the duct tape.
Yeah, don't Filipino.
Tony and Martin, your mics.
On.
Honey, what's it called?
Testing 1, 2. Live from City
Hello.
Hall.
Okay, I'll call this meeting to order. I'm at 12:06 PM. First item is roll call. The only member missing is Fernando Valle. Everyone else is present. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Those
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. First item on the agenda, 1051 East Oak Street. Mr. Velez.
Yeah, thank you. So this is a typical reminder of that we are a certified local government, which means that the certificate of appropriateness must be based to the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. Then I just mark here the standards. What is the 011 Historic District? The two National Historic Districts that we have in Brownsville. And then the first item is 1051 East Polk. You have here the story of the site because the house was demolished, approved to be demolished on 2018. You can see the second lot, the number 11 is the one where the house supposedly is going to be, half lot is going to be located. So this was the original house, this site. This is a traditional neighborhood, which means that, okay, they can build a house of 50 feet depth with the corresponding setbacks and the parking to be located on the rear. This is the typology that I'm mentioning. So they have amended the site plan. First of all, I must say that this item was approved by the ARC, but unfortunately, I was not here to remind that stuff because you said, okay, the item has to go to the ARC again, but I consult the legal department and they say that no can be reviewed here because it was already approved. So that was a kind of guidance. You can see here on the site plan that it shows the front yard with that tree and the grass and so the distance between buildings, the 14 feet. Now it has been corrected and the parking behind. There were some comments regarding the parking. No, that parking is allowed on the back because it can have 0 setbacks to the rear and to the sides. I think that is if we see here, you can see here that the setbacks the setbacks are marked on the bottom part of the left page, and it says 3 feet side setback, on the parking setbacks on the low part of the left page. So the parking also meets the code, and so indeed you have there is marked the setback and then the parking there. This is the floor plan already corrected, and so. Okay, the window to the left, that was also another question. That was approved by ARC because that helps the ventilation of the master bedroom. And it was kind of a wave to, instead of having the single hung, as you can see to the right on the front elevation, to have to favor the ventilation of the master bedroom. That was agreed. This is the main building in front. So on the rear, there's also a door where you can access the first floor. This is the rear building, the little one, which because the rear is going to be facing the main building, there's no door at all. And so to keep some privacy to the owners that are going to build on the main building. And this is the right and left elevations. As I said, the doors are on one side, and even when we always request the doors to be facing the main street in this case, because they did this kind of redesign, separating the main building from the rear, we allow also this. So everything was allowed in this case because they follow the ordinance from a site plan. Okay, this is the suggested horizontal wood siding, but probably they are going to do the fiber cement. So what I check on previous meetings and approvals is that the developers are building up with how they plan the new houses, but what I feel is that the exposure of that how they plan is too much. So I would be very, very repetitive in this kind of thing, saying, okay, how the plan is okay, naturally it's a good finish, but I would say that the width or the height of the how the plan should be 525 inches and then 4 inches of exposure, because that matches a little bit more with the old bevel siding. Instead of having the whole, some people even put the whole hardy plank, one on top of the other. So it's really, really big and huge, and it's not exactly aesthetic. So I'm going to be repeating this thing all over the time. If you agree, very good. If you disagree, just tell us why. And so this is the other way. That is the bottom button, every 12 inches the button, and so with the characteristics of a vertical fiber cement. The landscaping that you have seen on the site plan that has been followed. The fences, if any, they would put the picket fence that they have repeated us all the time. So when coming to, these are the kind of fences that we recommend with the 42 inches on the front, and then 6 feet from the facade to the rear. So the staff recommendation is that considering the comments and references written above and that ARC recommended approval of the project, to approve the proposed project. The COA will be signed once I say rehabilitation project, that's once the project will describe in detail the following construction features and materials. The dimensions have been already amended, so they are the same. The facade elevations, I'm referring to what I said regarding fiber cement, height 525 and exposure of 4 inches. The single hung 1/1 windows made of wood or white vinyl with non-tinted glass. The encased window, if permitted by code, was approved by ARC to facilitate ventilation of the master bedroom. And as always, the dark gray roof, the fence with 42 inches, the landscape that they are following perfectly, a light color to paint the house, and naturally other potential comments that may come from the zoning or the building division through the UDC and International Building Code.
Okay, so staff recommendation is to approve.
Yes, that's
Is there
right.
anyone here to speak on behalf of this project?
No, I think that unless they are online, they were having a trip, and they told me through email that they agree with the
Go
staff
back to the
recommendation.
elevation. Okay. As an architect, I really like the character of this design. What I do have a concern with, though, is apparently there's only one window on those two elevations that is movable or operable, single hung, or the others look like they're fixed glass. The reason I'm concerned about that is in Hurricane Allen, 1980, even though it didn't hit directly Brownsville, one of my first bosses had already designed a home and built. None of his windows were operable. He was without electrical power for a week. Can you imagine what that was like in August? And so I would like for you to suggest to them that they make sure that their windows are operable. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Well, I did want to say, do they come back to you for the colors? As long as it's a light color, you're satisfied? And I'm concerned that the colors are light.
Yeah, I used to recommend if you take the Sherwin-Williams color palette, I used to recommend the 2 or the 3 first ones that are on the exterior, because that's what it matches. Color, whatever they like, but has to be that kind of wood. And then if you move to the center part of the color palette, then you would have a darker one that contrasts very good with the trim. And so that's always recommended to all the owners. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Make a motion that we accept, that we approve this.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, motion passes. Item number 2, 1320 East Frontage Road.
Okay, this is a car lot that you approved the other day, but by reviewing precisely the traditional, the zoning district, this is the lot, and to the right is the Sinclair station that was built around 1930s. The beautiful, really the gas station is on the back on to the left of the Brownsville coffee shop that you can see there. It's on those 2 red spots that are on the ridge line. That's the original gas station. So in any case, this is a traditional neighborhood. If you want to have a car lot and the parking in front or nearby the Fillmore and so, you need to build something on the front. So the parking can start 5 feet behind the building. So what I'm recommending here is simply to change the house that they want to project, that you can see there with those lines and so, from the back to the front, 5 feet setback, and then from 5 feet of the facade, the parking. That means it's the same case as West Elizabeth Street. From 10 feet, they can start to have the parking lot and so. They introduce all these kind of things. They put the CMU. The CMU is not allowed. Could be brick or could be party plan, but it's not allowed. Also, the side back of this property was wrong. This is the design. So, okay, it's kind of simple. What I'm recommending is the following. I'm suggesting here, first of all, something that Roberto Ruiz the other day was mentioning all the time, kind of box columns. I went to this very good example. This Las Palmas was designed by Woolrich. It's a pretty good design. Those columns that you see there is 5.5 by 5.5, and the height is 7 feet, 6 inches, but to the fascia is practically the 8 feet. So it's a very well, let us say, proportioned column rather than a 4 by 4 or a 6 by 6 that could be perhaps slightly thicker. So in any case, I bring back this kind of a column. I would bring more in the near future so you can have more references. We have to be very careful with this measure. The doors as well. So when recommending something, I recommend to approve both the COA will be signed once, first of all, the building must be moved to the front, so the parking can be built 5 feet behind the main facade. The horizontal siding can be wood or fiber cement, but the CMU is not allowed by code in this typology. The facade elevations must depict the horizontal siding, which would probably be fiber cement, again 525 with exposure of 4 inches. The developers have to be very careful with this because later on we are involved in the inspection. So what I want to see is that the siding matches the drawing that has been approved. If it is bigger, they're going to have issues because that's what it has been approved. Single hung 1/1 windows made of wood or white vinyl. Then the box columns measuring 5.5 by 5.5, and again the dark gray roof. The mentioning regarding the fence, in this case, maybe we could allow, when it's a commercial property, we allow, first of all, it has to be rough iron, cannot be picket fence or a wooden fence. And we allow higher heights because the security of what is behind. So I don't have an issue if he builds an iron fence, which should be an iron fence, clear fence that can be seen what is behind, of 5 or 6 feet height. I don't have any issue with that. And the landscaping also, they have to meet the code, again, light color, and the project must comply the UDC and codes.
Go back to the floor plan. Where's the master bedroom?
And this is an office.
That's probably
Yeah,
a mistake.
I know, but you make a comment.
Yeah, because I copy and paste the other ones, I changed neatly some and then highlight them.
Okay. And I'm assuming that it's, they're showing concrete block on the property line because it's not set, there's no setback away from the property line. So they made concrete
What
block.
they are showing here is zero setback from the left. Post frame building, you can see that there's zero.
And go back to what the site looks like now.
Wait, sorry?
Go back to what the site looks like now, the empty lot, the photo of the empty lot. Right there. So, can he build right up to the brick, to the block wall? If there's a house next door? There's zero setback on the side?
We haven't issued that kind of permit.
No, is there any setback? Is he 3 feet away from that wall or is he next to
Okay,
the?
the side, the setback, as you can see, this is traditional neighborhood, so the side setback should be, as you can see in the third line, 5 feet.
5 feet, okay,
Yes.
all right.
So they have to bring to the front to build the parking. That's what they want. And then they have to separate the buildings 5 feet.
All right,
Okay,
Okay.
so the typologies, on the typologies, you would see that the exterior walls, lab wood siding, brick, stucco, cementitious, fiber cement, fiberboard, sorry. So those are the materials that you can use. Therefore, the CMU is not allowed, but they can do that same wall with brick if they want to have that component on the restroom and so.
Okay, is anyone here to speak on behalf of this project? Okay. Is there a motion?
move to approve.
Do what?
Move to
Oh,
approve.
okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Next item, number 3, 1735 West Elizabeth
Yeah.
Street.
There are two addresses here, the Farley Apartments, that is the building that is diagonal located, and the other one to the back, that is the Helms House. He was a veteran of the World War and a Purple Heart. So that house is kind of interesting. As you remember, the owner told us that there were 4 apartments on in the diagonal building and 2 others on the other one. So there are 6 units right now. So I just let there the little significance of these 2 houses. These are the photographs that we took the other day when board members, Cardenas McNair, Rodriguez, and Walker went there to meet the owner and the designer and find out and resolve everything on site. So this is again a traditional neighborhood corridor. So by now you would know that they need to build something on the front to have that parking on the back, the new parking. Okay, these are all the typologies. Let us say that TNCs such as Downtown Core and Downtown Edge are mainly created to have more density in Brownsville. So sometimes why it doesn't make sense that you only build 1 story instead of 2. So in any case, this was the old proposal. So once we visit the site, we agreed that the proposal will change to this one. To the left, it's going to be that 1-story apartment. And the other one on the left part of the lot towards West Elizabeth would be the other one, so they can build those 10 parking units there. Then later on, the designer will explain us where are these new 1-story apartment going to be facing. As you see, they are creating this plaza for the duplexes, and then the facades are going to be confronting each other. We are okay with the new parking design. There's going to be 12 units, and we have 14 parking units. It's fine. So we agree with this kind of design. The designer will also explain you what is going to be the style of the proposed 1-story apartment, the 2-story apartments. This is the design for the duplexes. Again, the bevel siding, the other alternative sidings, the bottom button, columns, the box columns with the 5.5, landscaping regulations, and the recommendations. So there are two alternatives. The more, let us say, the more drastic would be to table that, and because we want more density, for example, building a courtyard there of 2 stories or something. I put 3 stories, but it has to be 2. That would be the best option. They don't have to follow this, but that would be the best option for the city and for Brownsville and the density that we want there. Or the alternative is as they proposed, is to, so then the recommendation would be to approve the proposed design, and the COA will be signed once the project has been reviewed and approved by the HPC that is today, and will describe in detail. We need some more details just to approve it regularly by the staff. That is, okay, where is going to be facing the closer 1-story apartment to West Elizabeth Street, the other one that is on the back. And then what I'm saying is referring exactly the same kind of building materials. 525 siding with exposure of 4 inches, the classical single home windows, the box columns, and the dark gray roof. Fence, I think that they are not going to build any fence at all, but I just leave it there because it's a standard comment. The landscaping, to match the landscaping, that means the buffer in front of West Elizabeth Street, and the project complying UDC and codes. So
Okay,
if
is
you
anyone
open
here to
the
speak
public-
on, anyone here willing to speak? Did you want to speak? Okay.
Oh.
Would you approach the mic? Identify yourself, please.
The reason
Your name?
my name is Juan Ramos from a design from GR House Plans. And the reason we split one of the duplex is just to comply with the parking space.
Uh-huh.
But we left one on the back, small, just a one unit, the other one in the front, so we can comply with that. And most of the materials that we're gonna use on those duplex are gonna be the same duplex, but we just need to design the small ones, yeah.
Okay.
So Mr. Ramos, then you can see the site plan there, the new one that you introduced. The left 1-story apartment would be facing West Elizabeth Street, and the other one that is to the left of the Farley apartments would be it's facing already the parking, no?
Yeah, it's
Is
gonna
that
be
okay?
facing.
Do you want it to face the parking or do you want it to face Elizabeth Street?
Whatever he says. I mean, if he just copy and paste what is designed, he would probably.
We can still rotate the one in the back. If you want to face it to Elizabeth, we can still rotate it.
To the tree, to the Heritage Street that is located there?
Yeah, to Elizabeth.
Okay. So
That's
then.
no problem.
So you,
Still, there's space to rotate it.
Okay.
anyone have any other questions?
Well,
No.
I want to look at the facade of the 1-story apartment in front.
Well, it's going to be, yeah, so then the one to the left, the
The new 1-story.
one to the left is going to be similar to this one, but only probably what?
Oh, it's a duplex?
No, it's going to be a single house, but it's going to be this kind of style. So probably then what I.
We don't have the design of the.
No, we don't
No, we don't
have
have,
the design.
it was too rapid. I didn't have a chance to that.
Well, I mean, how can we approve it if we don't see it?
Because well,
Well, I was advised of this meeting, that's why.
I get you, but how can I approve what I don't?
Are you gonna be able to come back with an elevation?
I can
of-
do it by Monday or Tuesday, I can have it ready, everything.
Yeah. Maybe we do ARC next week?
and ARC is the last week on Thursday, I think. Last week on Thursday. So
Okay.
then so then you will design the left apartment and the other one on the back. Yep, that's fine.
I mean, if you want to do ARC, fine, but we cannot approve, it's not here. There's nothing to approve, it's not here.
Well, then we need to table, till
Okay,
you're
but at
able to
least,
get the drawing.
okay.
I thought we had a good meeting at the site, good conversation. And, Mr. Rodriguez had recommended us to meet at the site, and so I thought it was beneficial. So is there a motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Okay, so will you get with Mr. Velez and provide the additional elevations and, okay, thank you very much.
And then do you want to make a motion
To table.
to table?
Can we get that?
Oh, well, I thought you wanted to do based on your review of what he presents.
Well, yeah, you can say that in the motion, to table, and we refer to ARC, to the Architectural Review Commission.
Yeah, but the ARC doesn't have the
The what?
the power to approve the design. It has to come back to the HPC.
Okay. No, the design has to come back. We have to have something.
Right.
Okay, so is there a motion?
Ultimately, it has to come back.
Yeah.
Yes. So we will, I make a move to table.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Thank you, sir. Okay, item number 4, 1904 East Taylor Street.
This was seen the other day. It was tabled in order to get the proper drawings. This is a house that is a craftsman house, as is one of the very few that is in this portion of Brownsville. However, you decided to change the existing siding for fiber cement and so, and also other things that were mentioned was what about the beam? They finally agreed to change the beam, and what about the columns that will be box columns and so, and need to widen the existing door for the lady that owns the house. So these are the photographs of the house. The drawings have been worked by the architect, so we don't have those drawings. They know that the item was coming. I just put the item just in case they have the drawings, such as the other one, the other case that we have just reviewed. And what I was recommending here is simply certain kind of construction features, such as the fiber cement, to preserve the existing front and side windows and the box columns. And the rest is new, the dark gray roof and so on and so forth. So what I'm recommending is to table that until the drawings are properly introduced.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of this project? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Number 5, 1045 East 10th Street.
Yeah, this is the Longoria Field rental store. It's at the corner of 10th and Jackson. It's currently a medium preservation priority ranking. And what I found is that the field, that it was the one that built the field building, the Field Pacheco building. He passed away in 1907, but her daughter, Leah Field, married in 1906. So there are no more data regarding the building. The building could be a gift of the father to her daughter for the marriage, or could be simply inherited by her and built after he passed away. In any case, we can see that between 1906 and 1914, the building was built. And what I find kind of interesting, and that's what I'm saying that this building is historically significant, is that there's news on 1913 saying that Ms. G. Garcia, and this is, I quote, who operated a large mercantile business at 10 and Jackson Streets. The newspaper says he's seriously ill and not expected to survive. So what it grabbed my attention is that there were not too many women in front of businesses in Brownsville of that era. We know that the Vuitton was there, a French lady. We know that Miss Souther had a millinery shop on at Washington Street. There was another millinery also by another French lady. So this would be a fourth one, but in a grocery store is kind of a strange for that time. So that's what it makes significant. It's not only the owner, is that or the era in which the building was built, but the renter that exists on 1913. You can see that 1906 in the lower lot is absolutely empty. Then on the next one, the grocery store appears at the corner in 1914 and 1919. In 1926, what happened is that it was extended to the back. Remains in 1930, and then on 1957 the corner building has subdivided into a single house and then an addition on the back. That is more or less what you can find right now, the interior. Now, this is the current situation of the building. You can see it's in pretty bad shape. You have a mix of sidings. Probably the old one is the bottom button, but you have, look at there, you have a California siding to the right, bottom button, and then the lower part is bevel siding. More California siding in this side, and bottom button on the rear. This is another photograph of the two facades. And this is how it looks. Okay, how it looks, the left house from here, from the interior. Those are the windows and main door. This is towards the back. And this is the right one, towards 10th Street, back, and some potential rehab that another owner did and stopped. So what I'm bringing back is simply, okay, is this a very bad condition so as to demolish as it has been required or not? Well, we have the example of the Lyseca building. This 2023, how it looked like. No floors, no roof. The shingle, the real original shingles on the floor. Some walls there. But with, as Rafa Chacon was saying yesterday, with the labor of love, these buildings can be brought back. You can see the vertibird that board member Larry Love built upon the example that he had. Then little by little start to consolidate the building and bring back the original building features.
Was this a grocery store also?
Sorry?
Was this also? a
Yes,
grocery store?
this was a grocery store of the Lyseca family. So these are the ties, no, Larry?
Beg your pardon?
These are what you call the ties.
Yes.
And then, well, naturally, you have to support the structure in some way. Fix in how it looked like finally. And so well, this is a traditional neighborhood. These are the standards for rehabilitation and the box columns, as always, that I'm recommending. And my recommendation in this case would be to deny the proposed demolition. So a COA can be granted upon review of the project and be approved by the HPC, which we suggest vertical bottom button, single hung 1/1 windows and box columns of 5.5 and the rest of the typical conditions. What we are saying is that because this is a traditional neighborhood, the parking has to be behind the building or 50 feet. So because the dimensions of the lot, that means that the owner should have to bring back the original Sanborn map that is here, the square floor plan that you can see there, and build on the back of that house the parking, because the front facade is facing 10th Street. So then the rear can be considered on the back, even when the entrance would be through Jackson Street. It's a very individual here.
So you're suggesting just save the 1919 building?
The 1914 or 1919 building, yeah, not the extension. Or you can save the extension and then on that extension build up the parking.
And what
Because
is it
it's
that they
behind it.
were planning to do? What is their intention?
Okay, so this is what I can tell you regarding the house, an example of how to rehab. And what they are proposing, if you were approving that demolition, they are proposing, okay, we have two here opportunities. One is facing again 10th Street, building up the garage on the back. That's the only way to have a garage there. So then the look would be like this, right? By the way, that fence cannot be on top of the facade. It has to be set back. So this is facing 10th Street, 10th Street. Then we start to see the other side too.
So they wanted it to be a single-family home?
Yeah, a single family home, all right? And you can see that the parking that is being. Okay. And this is the second design with the bay window there. And this is Jackson
Is
Street.
this a full lot?
No,
It's a half lot.
it's a half lot. That's the reason why the only way to do parking there is facing the house to 10th Street. And also that's a kind of tribute to what we have right now if you were going to approve the demolition. Pretty nice. So in this case, what I'm recommending is the fiber cement. You were approving the demolition of the other house. As always, the fiber cement should be 525 with the exposure of 4 inches, the single home 1/1, and the box columns that create sense of proportion there. So dark gray roof, a fence has to be set back to the facade, not to the front lot line as it is right now facing 10th and Jackson Street, and then landscaping to match the UDC code, light colors, and projects complying, meeting UDC and codes.
So so if I'm confused, if we say that they cannot demolish, they can only demolish what is younger than the 1919 structure.
Well, first of all, I feel that is when the property was significant, and also that allows to build the parking on the back, you know?
But-
Now, if you want to preserve the facade facing Jackson Street, then the garage would be on the back. Let me.
What I'm confused about is what we're saying, okay,
Here.
yes. this is
So
what I'm-
then instead of demolishing that back part, you
Okay,
you
we're
would
saying
create that in front.
save what has the political signs on it, save that one? Save the one that has the political signs on it.
Save both of
I
them.
think he's saying that that would be an option, is to save the older part, but I think what they're requesting is a demolition for the entire part,
Both for the
Yep.
lot.
so that they can construct the proposed. Now, that's sort of the double peak roof one that you pointed out. Yeah, this is kind of an interesting building, but the problem is that it was almost impossible to save the Lyseca building 2 blocks away that has a similar construction. But the only reason why it was savable, it was because it was so unique and it had been reported by HABs and it was in the Library of Congress. I just don't see going by this building every single day. Just don't see how you could invest that kind of money and make this. I don't see how you could really save this in any workable way.
So what you're saying there is recommending demolition?
Yeah, I mean, my thought is that viably, economically, you can't really save this. The amount that would cost to invest to bring this back compared to what you would have at the end point would be, I just don't see how you could make it work. It's just a thought, because it was brought up that the relationship to the Lyseca building a couple of blocks away, but I think the relationship there is is stretching because the other building was so incredibly important to save beyond its economic value.
Because, okay, so explain to me how you're distinguishing, what made the Lyseca so distinguished?
Lyseca building was drawn by the Habs project in the 1950s. It's in the Library of Congress. It is a very unusual double peaked roof, as you see with this one, and because it was so intact, even though badly degraded. And so that one, because of its location and its history, and it's 20 years older, 30 years older. It goes back to the 1880s, as opposed to this, which is 1990. And so it's a real, it's apples and oranges, I think.
Okay.
Are you here to speak on behalf of this project?
Yes,
Identify yourself.
I'm the architect for this project. My name is Ricardo Diaz. I was hired to do the proposals for the demolition of the proposals for the new project in case this was approved for demolition. I think right now the discussion is more on the demolition of the project. Curiously, the two examples that were shown there, I've somewhat been involved in both, the Las Palmas apartments and the Lyseca building. And as Mr. Loft said, most of the Lyseca building, the feasibility of it was because of the commercial use of the building. And I think this for a single family home, it's a very tight space, and the amount of money, I don't know if that's relevant, to renovate this to be a single family home, it would be too high to bring it up to a standard of use for today.
Anyone have any further questions for Mr. Diaz?
But the first issue then is demolition.
Yeah. Okay, what is your recommendation?
Well, my recommendation
To allow demolition?
is to allow the demolition, but then you have to close the public hearing. and
Yeah, I
vote-
know.
and vote.
Okay. Do you have any other comments, Mr. Diaz? Okay. Move to close. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, is there a motion?
Okay, so I'm in favor of the demolition with the understanding, because I think the proposed plan is really good for that neighborhood. It's a 19th century building, actually looks a little bit like S.W. Brooks. And so with the understanding of what is proposed there, I'm kind of in favor of the concept of demolition.
I'll echo that sentiment.
Are we approving a new plan?
No, we're
No,
approving
first-
demolition.
We're gonna approve
Demolition first, but we look at demolition always tied to what's going there, as opposed to an isolated thing just to create an empty lot.
Yeah.
So is there a motion? We're talking about demolition here now.
Okay, make a motion that we approve demolition.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, now, new construction.
Okay, so we have mainly two options have been introduced. The first one without, mainly the difference are the flat facade somehow and the bow window, as far as I understand. This is one of it, no?
The porch basically on one side is a large difference.
Yeah, that's one. This is one of it.
This is facing which street?
This is 10th Street.
They're both facing 10th, just that one has a more predominant porch facing Jackson.
So there's a little bow window. What I wonder if is that bow window is okay, or the facade should be flat on the first floor. And then you have the porch. This is Jackson Street, and then you have the porch. So there could be some comments regarding that bow window. And then the second opportunity, the last one here. And the second, you can see the bow window to 10th Street. Okay? Again, the parking is going to be on the back. The house is going to be facing 10th Street. You see the bow window now in this case here. You have a larger porch, as Mr. Diaz is saying. And then on the back, you have the parking. Okay, so those are the two options.
Can you go to the front facade? Can you go to the
Okay.
front facade?
So this is one of the front facades, and the type 1 is, let us go and see the other one. This one. Once more, this is symmetrical, okay? And the other would be this one.
Do we have any, photos of existing homes in that area?
Photos of existing homes? No, this is a kind of a, somehow a different,
There's a couple of
House.
buildings
Looks
similar
like
to
a-
this on St. Charles.
Okay.
As you go down St. Charles towards Palm Boulevard, there are two kind of cottage buildings that look similar to this, both 19th century stick form. The
Yeah.
only comment I would make is usually that double window, usually, you know, when you have shutters, it matches half the window, but since you got a double window, it just looks a little, I think the shutters look too wide.
But they're designed to cover each window.
They're designed to cover each window,
Yeah.
but because they doubled the windows, it makes kind of a wide shutter. But, and.
But I don't like the idea of a shutter that doesn't cover the.
Yeah.
No, correct, exactly. Well, what they used to do is they used to do a bifold so they could, but anyway, it would still look the same. But changing the lap siding as Juan proposed will give it a much more also older Victorian look. To have the narrower exposure on siding.
Well, but
The fiber cement.
he's got that. It's
Yes,
only
he
4
does.
instead of 5.5. But I actually like the first one better. It looks more.
Yeah.
It looks more 19th century.
Well, I think you've done very well, Mr. Diaz, and the way either option looks,
Now, what,
fits in the neighborhood. Reba?
yes, why, does the second plan have shutters and the first plan doesn't have shutters? Any reason?
Just because this, on this plan, since we brought forward the entry point, some of the windows on the sides got too tight, narrow.
Yeah,
So bringing shutters on the top and not on the bottom, it just, we wanted to shutter the whole, all
okay.
the windows. And honestly, we're at a point where we don't mind bringing a hybrid of the two. So showing two distinct projects or somewhat distinct and kind of going from there.
Okay, any further questions for Mr. Diaz?
No, I mean, yeah, no.
Okay. Want to close public hearing?
I'll move to close public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made, second. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion?
Here, the recommendations will be as always, a kind of, fiber cement with exposure, minimum exposure, single home windows with no interior paints and so, and you have box columns, so that's fine. Is design of the other.
Okay,
So do we make a motion as to which one we want?
yeah,
Well, it says rendering 2, but it was actually the first one presented.
I think it was a hybrid, no?
This is the model 1, okay, I'm going to repeat the models.
Pardon?
This is model 1,
Yes, the model 1,
okay?
the one,
And then
very-
this is the 2.
they're both attractive, but I prefer model 1. It looks more traditional.
okay, which is this?
Go back to model one, Juan. Okay.
That's model 1?
Yes.
So the entry is centered.
The entry center is symmetrical, facing 10th Street.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve model one.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Next item. Number 7, 1021 East Washington. It's to the left.
Okay, so this is the Overstreet hardware store. You can see that is the third building to the left, facing Washington Street. The original store of Milton Overstreet was located on the Farias building, but it burned. And then on 1946, he had to relocate to this place, the hardware. He sold it in 1955 to the Dr. Vidal Longoria. The building may have a, oh, this is wrong. No, sorry, it's okay. The building may have the owner may have tax exemptions if correctly rehabbed. We don't have original photographs, so you would see what is there. So what it happened is the third lot, number 9 here, that appears since 1894. There was a single house demolished between 1930 and 1957 to build up the 2-story building. This is the current place.
Oh.
So you have glass, how do you say? Yeah, the glass blocks there on the first floor, kind of glass blocks on the as transom. The upper windows naturally are not original.
Oh, yes.
So to the left, if you take a look to the first floor, there's clearly a panoramic window there that has been filled. And again, that glass block still runs there, and the window is not original. This is the back, and the interior is nothing. This is an important detail of the glass blocks nearby the entry and the windows. This is the second floor, what you can find right now, the staircase and the windows, the not original windows. So this is the downtown core. I'm putting here the general commercial building as it is, mixed use. Okay, this is a floor plan. So they, as you can see, they want to do all this kind of work on the interior. Typically check and take a look to the front facade on the left, and the second floor is to the right. So there are some comments here in which the windows, what I'm suggesting is to be single hung white vinyl windows, such as the one in the center. The panoramic windows, those are okay, and to preserve naturally the glass block that is on top of the windows plus the entry. And to the side, they can do that. They can put another panoramic window, and the window, the second floor window should be single hung. Now, this panoramic window to the side probably is too big. Probably it has to be 2 pieces rather than 1, especially because we have hurricanes. So this is what they are proposing. Again, the only comments is, okay, preserve what you have, that is the glass block. Do this kind of rect panoramic windows to Washington Street to the left, I don't know if 1 or 2, and simply the windows on the second floor should be single hung. And that's all, because the rest of the building, there's nothing. So this is the recommendation, that simply preserve the existing stucco, repaired or replaced in kind. Panoramic front windows on the first floor, made with white vinyl, as shown in elevations, and the side window may need to be divided. We don't know yet, because that's what it happened in the Coca-Cola building. Second floor, front single hung windows should be 1-on-1, and the existing glass block to be preserved.
Can you take that screen two, red thing off?
Yeah.
Question,
Yeah, can you remove
It's
that?
blocking your approval.
question one, is this a demolition or a remodel?
No, this is a remodel.
A remodel, because it's listed here as demolition.
Sorry?
Listed here as a demolition
Where
That is-
it says?
on the proposal.
At number 7, it says
Yeah.
proposal demolition, it's remodel.
What? This is to be preserved, panoramic front windows.
On the agenda,
Oh,
It's
that's
listed as
that's
demolition.
a mistake.
that's why we were
It's
so
a-
alarmed.
It was
Yeah, so
remodeled.
It's kind of like,
It's
Yeah,
to
remodel.
preserve, it's to
yeah, but
preserve
it
the
says
building.
demolition, that's why I was kind of
And,
like.
yes, thank you. And it's to remodel the interior.
Oh, we feel much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Problem.
Is that a problem? Because it's not.
It's been posted as a demolition.
we're gonna not approve a demolition.
No. The approval is to remodel as it's shown on the render.
On the agenda. House.
Yeah, no, the agenda, it's wrong.
Okay, well, if we don't approve a demolition, demolition can't occur.
Demolition, that's the problem.
Is to do this.
Lena?
Yeah.
Madam Attorney?
Thank you.
I believe action should be taken on the item that's on the agenda. And I think that how it's listed on the agenda gives the public sufficient notice that changes are going to be made to this property.
Okay. So we can not approve a demolition and then discuss a remodel.
Okay.
Okay, so I make a motion not to approve a demolition. Oh, do we need to open a public hearing?
Is anyone here to speak on behalf of this project?
No.
Okay.
So I make a motion not to approve a demolition on this project.
I second that motion.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Okay.
So, we will discuss now a remodel
Right.
of this property.
Yes.
So are we gonna
Pursuant to the staff recommendation.
pursuant to the staff recommendations of the remodel? I am very interested in those glass blocks. I think they're so cool.
Yeah.
So they need to be very careful because I bet they can't find them again.
Right.
Okay, so I approve the remodel of this building as suggested by staff.
Okay, so you have a motion to.
A motion to approve.
Is there a second?
remodel.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. All right. Item number
So-
8.
Yeah, this is La Barata. It's a medium preservation priority ranking. You can see on the bottom part. Building that is facing 11th Street. So the story is that the building probably was built around the 1850s, but the Fernandezes bought it on the 1870s and probably did some kind of remodel. So
Now,
You
you
can see
also
here-
moved this?
This also says demolition. Is this also
Yeah,
incorrect?
you didn't really
Oh,
mean
my,
demolition.
no, sorry. No.
All right.
Well, then we will do
So is
exactly.
there a motion to
Not approved.
not approve demolition?
Yeah, we're not going to approve. I make a motion not to approve demolition.
Is there a
No,
second?
sorry.
Is there a second? Okay, motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I'm sorry. Sometimes I make this mistake by grabbing the previous item. and
Okay,
I
we
don't-
cleared up the demolition issue.
Yeah.
You're on, Mr. Velez.
Sorry?
You're on.
Now for what is the suggestion of
Okay,
staff?
the suggestion was to remodel the facade, the existing facade. So I'm telling here the story of the building. The 1877 Sanborn map shows a one-story building all along. And then on 1885, they built a two-story building where the Morning Glory is located. And then simply they changed the Barata. You can see the difference between 1894 and 1906.
Okay,
Right?
so show, on these maps, Morning Glory is at the corner.
Yes.
And
On
where's
in-
La Barata?
La Barata is the other building that is adjacent to the corner lot.
Between the alley and Morning Glory.
That's right. Okay, so you can see in 1885, you are going to see to the, where Morning Glory, you see two. That's a two-story building at the corner. So the rest is La Barata, and it's only one story, as you can see in a very little number that appears on the bottom of that pink building. So then what it happens is that in 1894, still is the same, it has the same layout, La Barata. In 1906, they built a kind of a rear wall, La Barata. 1914, the canopy disappears, and now you have three spaces. There are four spaces in the front and three on the back in 1919. In 1926, there are four spaces. In 1930, there are five. And it remains in 1957. So naturally, those 5 spaces that appear in 1957, maybe not match the current structure. That's one of the things. Now, the other thing that you have to see here, and that's what I noticed, is that the alignment to 11th Street is only 1. So then the current setback doesn't exist. That's the reason why I was suggesting to go to the Texas Stock Commission, because you have all that kind of potential reasonings that maybe Mr. Zavala can do in front of the Texas Stock Commission without having the risk to take the decision here. But you will see, okay, so from all these drawings, we can see, oh, the facade was aligned with Morning Glory, and now it's not aligned, all right? Now, on the other hand, you know that the Texas Stock Commission and the Secretary of Interior Standards recognize the evolution of the building. So the current facade that exists there is the one that exists probably since 1960s. So this was how the facade looked like. So
This is what we're talking about?
yes,
But I thought this belonged to the city.
no, but we sold to Mr. Zavala,
Oh,
so he can have another restaurant.
oh, okay.
So this was there. So what it happened is that you're going to see now the historic photographs. The facade, the whole facade was altered because the only remaining part of this building is facing the alley. So this is a kind of a reinterpretation with a kind of a prairie finish on the ridge line with those diamonds and so. In any case, you see a recessed door on Los Reyes Cafe, and the rest is flat, such as here. There's no recess. The same that I'm saying that there's an alignment, there's no recess of doors also here. So naturally, because those were French doors. We can see here the entablature that naturally was running through all the original facade facing 11th Street. And the column to the right that was limiting the building.
This is how the alley looks right now?
No, well, now there's a door there and it has been repaired, the brick and so. This is an old photograph before the door was opened there. So this is the real condition of the bricks and the entablature and the dentils that are there.
So you think this is what the facade was?
We are going to see that.
Okay.
So this is what I found the other day. There was work without a permit. They were doubling the facade, and they removed the stucco. So what it happened when you remove the stucco is that we can see that there are 2 colors of brick. The one that is under the beam is red brick. That's the original, probably the original brick or brick being reused to do this kind of facade. And then on top of the concrete beam, there's yellowish, naturally, because that probably has been done in different time and so. Also, the removal of 2 other, the 2 set doors to the right that were not allowed. This is how the pillars were built over the original skin that is aligned with Los Reyes Cafe. And those are details of the, what also it was discovered that here it appears practically nothing. So if you were wanting to align this part of facade, not the bottom area, but the facade itself, you could use kind of little faccioletta to align this corner to the rest of the columns there, you know? Because you can see that there's a little shade below the beam on the left. Now the brick mason was telling me, well, they are not aligned. Oh, okay, so now I didn't say anything. So now someone is going to explain me that a beam, that is a linear beam, aligned to the 3 other pillars. Now the left one is the one that is not aligned, but apparently the argument was that none of the other 3 columns were aligned when they are absolutely, aligned with the beam. That should be some magic stuff and so that I don't understand it. So this is Los Reyes. This is the minutes from October to approve the work, and the work is simply to move some doors to achieve the new opening and so. And this was the only thing that was introduced. And now we are going to see what we find in historic photographs. You cannot see anything here. That's a famous engraving of the Twin Cities. You still here don't see anything due the canopy.
Well, you, but.
This is
okay, but this
1912.
You think this, besides the canopy, you think that's the building?
No, that's La Barata.
Huh?
The building that is on the back to the left, that's La
Yes.
Barata.
It's La Barata, so you
Yes.
think that is this building?
Absolutely.
And what is, we're
That
discussing?
that was the building.
That
Okay,
was-
so now, look at here. This is 1912 with the fire department, and look what is behind. Yeah, French single doors. That's why you have 1111.
Okay, so the typical, even when it had the awning there, behind it was, Juan, go back one slide.
And then,
No, go back one
Go back one
slide.
slide. Okay, in other words, it was one of those typical, extremely organized, symmetrical pattern of French doors, just like so many of the border brick. And that was, and then it wrapped around and you can see the evidence of what the building really looked like from the alley, which is going back to the 1850s. Then the front with the, as he showed, was something done in the 20th century.
But let me say to you, but he's also saying that it would have been up to the concrete. How did that get pushed back?
That's a good question.
yeah, that happened later. Okay, we are seeing two historic photographs. The concrete beam didn't happen here. What I'm bringing this because you can see there that somehow you can see something in the ridge line apart from the transom windows and the French doors, individual French doors. But now you can see here very clear that the dentils run through the upper part. So this kind of photographs would say, okay, can you bring the tablet if you're having the discussion, and that's what I'm suggesting with the Texas Historical Commission, not with the Historic Preservation Commission. Why? Because if you allow a work that the Texas Historical Commission could consider that you are mimicking something that is not any longer there, and so we will reduce the status of the building. That's my point of view.
Yeah,
So maybe they would allow these dentils and the entablature, or maybe not, because there's nothing else there. It's such as the same decision that they have recently told to board member Larry Love with the San Fernando building, precisely on the facade that is facing 11th Street. I mean, there's no way, why are you going to bring back the original doors if there's nothing there? But we can see the decoration there. I think that it is mitigate if we go to the Texas Commission in order to do not reduce the status of the building, because that will harm to Mr. Zavala. In any case, these are the historic photographs, and I think that
well,
kind of-
we can't really make a decision if we are,
kind
I
of
would not
interesting.
want to make a decision that would be contrary to the historical commission, the state historical commission, and then that ruins the ability to get any kind of,
So this was, okay, so this was the original facade with 3 French doors and 3 transoms.
now,
That's-
this is the facade that they came back from.
This is the
And
facade.
what year are you thinking this was? what-
That's probably 1960s, 1970s.
Oh,
So
really?
I feel that it was probably after the Beulah or something, because the Beulah destroyed a lot of buildings here. So what happened is this was the original layout of the facade. What they are proposing now is, first of all, 4 transom windows instead of 3. And then a recessed door there to the left and a recessed door to the right. That is not exactly what we have. And on top of that, to bring back the original facade. And so I think that is too risky. And it's too risky because of this. Okay, this is the Parker's Row. This is medium preservation priority ranking because they built that silly second story there. But this is a medium, and it's just this is a high preservation priority ranking, and this is a high preservation ranking. So the Parker's Row is only one building, and the Texas Historical Commission, if the owners of La Fashions and the blue building that is in the middle decided to request the marker, they will get it. The one that would not get it is the one to the right. Oh, but just wait a minute, Juan, it's the same building. Yeah, it's the same building, but you have 2 different treatments. The
But
one
you have
to the left,
what?
the 2 to the left will still have the marker because it's high. So probably it could have a state marker. And so while the one in the right, there's nothing to do. And you can tell that, hey, the first story has absolutely changed from the first to the second building. So what I'm trying to explain you is that if you allow changes, you are increasing layers of let us say, potential harm to the building. So my staff recommendation is to table the item. And however, the COA could be signed once the project is approved by the Texas Historical Commission. I feel that is the best option, or amended to describe in detail the following characteristics. Priority is to present it to the Texas Historical Commission and have this discussion with them. Hey, could I bring back the original facade? I have these historical photographs, and it shows that the dentils and the entablature ran long time ago through that one. So even when the portion of Los Reyes Cafe is not any longer there, could I do the rest of my facade with that entablature and so? And what about then the openings? How could I resolve the openings? So have a dialogue with Texas Historical Commission rather to take a very drastic decision and then find out that you would never have again the medium preservation priority ranking that the building still holds right now. The French doors, to approve the French doors as it was approved on October, I mean, aligned with the facade, not with any kind of recess. Paint the stucco if the building is going to be restucco with a light color, and naturally to meet the building codes. And the alternative is to restore that original stucco and finish the top area with the diamond ornaments without the dentils or without anything, and simply implement the left area with that faccioletta and stucco over it. So those are the two recommendations.
I would hate to do anything that would reduce the opportunity to have any kind of marker.
Yeah. We need to preserve as many buildings as we can, so.
I think, and I think it is in the owner's best interest to see what Texas Historical Commission would approve, what they think is the right thing, so that if they get a historical marker, then they have ability to have property tax reduction if they can get a marker.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak on behalf of this project? You identify yourself, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Hector Zavala. I am the one working in this project. Well, I want to first start I want to apologize because I did move and did some work without prior consent from the board. It was never my intention to do anything wrong. I was really thinking I was doing something extraordinary for the block. I was being very careful. We were able to rescue that brick that we excavated from when we were doing our plumbing inside. So we had everything to move forward with it, thinking that we were using appropriate brick, something that's reclaimed and something that it's from the building itself. We're following proper mortar as well to resemble what was used, which was heavy on sand, light on cement. We were basing ourselves on an inspiration based on the pictures we have from the alley as well with the columns. And the proposed remodel, which is kind of a remodel because we can't call this a restoration, but it is very inspired in what we currently find in the alley. We're aiming to do the same proportions, dimensions from the existing parapet that we see in the alley. We're respecting the proportions of the column as well, and we're redoing and carefully crafting so that it has the same elevations, kind of doing a new blend of inspired on what used to be and something that's what we think is great for that part of the block. I think it would be great for the business. It will look clean. It will look inspired. We're not trying to lie on history, or not trying to make it seem as if it's more of an inspiration. We are creating, seeing what we have at Morning Glory and kind of doing that same knee wall with the proportions of what was used, the ratios, we're trying to be as respectful as we can with the dimensions, encouraging the transoms, the knee wall, the visibility of the windows. We're doing a canopies, even in the details that you see, that's not, what we see in this picture is not existing. This has been redone, that canopy. But even the way the anchors are hanging, like we're being very careful on how we hook it and connect the new proposed canopies, which right now are non-existent. On the building we have right now where Main Street is at, you could also see, I'm not familiar with the terms of the anchors, but you could see the detail in the plan. I don't know if it's shown, but the intent is to be as respectful as we can with what once it used to be. So yeah, I mean, that's what we have. I really seek your approval right now. I know the recommendation is to go through the Texas Historical Commission. It's not right now, we're not seeing it a multi-million-dollar property or project that we're working, which we think we're gonna benefit from the tax credits. Right now, it would be, and I know that would be on a side, but more of a financial burden for us to kind of stop the project and not continue with it. But I really hope we could.
The alternative is to go to the Texas Historical Commission, but instead.
I can't hear you.
The alternative is to go to the Texas Historical Commission, but in the meantime, what he can do is this. I think that I understand that you don't want to go back to the model of the Stockton, so that probably.
Well, I'm not clear what has occurred here right now. Is there a picture of what he's done up to this point?
Oh, sorry.
Go back.
Will you go back?
We haven't adjourned yet.
I also want to add those doors that we see there on the pictures from what it used to look like. Those doors were not original. Those doors were badly and very poorly made back in 2014. They are, yes, in a horrible shape. It was done with pine, indoor pine, nothing good for the heat that it's exposed to the weather, nothing. Those doors were very poorly made, nothing.
Is this what it looks like right now?
Yes, it is.
How did this get to this point and no one noticed that it didn't come here first? I mean, were you given a building?
Excuse me?
Were you given
a building?
I did, but I never asked for permission to do this.
Yes,
We were not planning on touching the facade at all.
What it was granted was,
Not for the exterior.
what it was granted was this facade in which it was going to change the.
We did have to open up those doors, and we were gonna redo those doors.
So what I would suggest is if this was the facade that was approved by the historical.
Well, I want to know where the breakdown came. That's very important to me.
Where the what, ma'am?
The bricks.
The breakdown that he's given a permit and he's not supposed to have a permit until he comes here. How did that occur?
No. He got the permit for this. For this. This was, I'm repeating, and this is on the COA. COA says,
On the proposed permit, ma'am, we did not file for any changes to the facade.
COA said
You got
exactly
an
this.
interior permit.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Exactly this, because I copy and paste what is being said on the minutes to avoid issues.
Yeah, we got an interior permit.
Okay.
Then he went to the side.
Basically, this was done without a permit and without a bad intention to do anything to harm the facade.
So
Okay,
what,
so let me ask, he has now done something that is not approved, and now what does that mean for us?
Well, obviously, he did it without a permit on the exterior.
Yeah.
So we need to make decisions or suggestions about how to correct the issue.
Well, okay, so we're gonna not have a conversation, we're gonna have a discussion with us only,
Yeah,
correct?
because
Well, you have a permit to be doing the plumbing work and everything on the inside.
Yes,
correct?
sir, we did get permits for everything in the interior.
And how long do you anticipate the interior work to take?
I'm hoping no more than 3 months.
What,
No more than 3 months, sir.
3 months
Yes, no more than, we should be finished in less than 3 months for the interior.
for the interior?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If we were to table the issue about the elevation, the exterior of this building, from what you're proposing and from what Mr. Velez is saying, and approach the Texas Historical Commission, even though we honestly think, some of us on this commission think Texas Historical Commission would deny what you're wanting to do on the exterior.
Probably.
But maybe we have an ARC meeting, an Architecture Review Committee meeting, sometime in the next week or 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And with you and your designer or whatever, and try to come up with a solution here. I'll tell you this, I know you're not really, from what you've told me, you're not interested in maybe getting a marker or something like that.
Not at the
But
moment.
you're a young man. And I don't know how long you're gonna own this building. You own it now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't know how long you're gonna own this building, but if, in the future, maybe you become so successful in all these restaurants that you're doing that you wind up moving from here, or, well, I don't know. But you might be interested in selling this building, La Barata, okay? It's gonna be more valuable if it does have a marker. If you don't do something that's gonna damage the historical significance of this building. Because right now, it's a medium. Is that correct, Mr. Velez?
Absolutely.
And if you do what you're wanting to do, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but if you do what you're wanting to do, it may be either a low priority or maybe no priority at all, depending upon what takes place.
Yes, sir.
My initial feeling about the canopies over here down at those last two spaces, I didn't particularly care for the canopies. Those were not historical in nature, but they left the clear story windows visible. I like that. So what you're proposing on your elevation is the same, where you expose the clear story windows.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but
there.
the issue is that,
The clear story.
Just a heads up, and based on what we seen when we started working in downtown, those doors or the transoms you currently see there at Los Reyes, where the current canopies are towards the alley, those are also not original, and they were asked to be replicated from the replica from 2014, 2013, which is also non-historic. None of them was made. None of those were made with approval. I don't know by who, but those are not. Those is something that was reassembled back in 2014, also not original, with no proper wood, no adequate wood as what we did when we followed the guidelines and instructions for Morning Glory, the 1049. That's a totally different project, but these follow none of what we were suggested when we were doing the restoration or from Morning Glory. Then when De Los Reyes made their remodel not too long ago, we're talking about a year back, they were asked to mimic exactly what this was interpreted to be. So now we're moving from interpretations to interpretations to interpretations, and none of that is historic. I guess as far as, there we go. Those windows there that you see, Mr. Velez, can you go back to?
yeah, but
Yes, right there at Los Reyes. Those was an interpretation that they were asked by the historic preservation. I don't know if it was this department or just the city to mimic what they see adjacent to it. So they did I guess, a restoration based on a false interpretation that was done back in 2014, which is also no historic nor characteristic. So this building has been modified over modified over modified. So what we're seeing right there in the doors they're non-original. I was able to put some pictures back that we saw before these doors were done, and they also had other aluminum doors, and they did have a knee wall that were not. They were replaced by these French doors. So this interpretation that we see right now from 2014 is not even what that was there in 2013, which was closer to what they had when they changed this facade.
Okay, let me step away from the elevation discussion here. Is your intent to use these 3 spaces to expand your dining area of Morning Glory?
Yes, sir.
See, I'm more offended, and it doesn't fall under our jurisdiction, but I'm more offended by some department not allowing you to open up that wall, that arch, and expand into this area in the future. That's what you want to do. For you to be told, no, you can't, and this has to be a separate, restaurant, I think is ludicrous personally. That's just my
Is
personal
that what
opinion.
happened?
Actually, on that, I could refrain. We are allowed to do that, but it's just a matter of us going into a fire code, could be compliant with fire code. If we install a fire suppression system, I believe we are allowed to do that. Right now, as we start, our best interest, because they have more than 2 hour, I guess, fire retardant wall. Right now, we could get away with creating, we are basically doing not an expansion, but another restoration to help subsidize overflow in weekends when we have to, and do something throughout the week, something maybe on different concept that's not tied to Morning Glory. So basically, we will be allowed to do that further, opening the arches with a suppression system installed.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
That's the problem. He has to invest a lot of money to put in a
Which-
sprinkler system.
Yeah, which actually right now that the street is being remodeled, I actually have to stop by PUB this afternoon. We are leaving already the tap system, taking advantage that the street is open with working with PUB to leave the 4-inch fire connection, the tap system already, to be able to do that in the future. Going back to the facade, it's never been my intention to do something out of it.
But Mr. Zavala, you did know how you worked with this department for your first building, which turned out lovely, but you did know that this needed to be approved because you had already the experience with your lovely Morning Glory.
Thank you. But yes, and in the same time, no, ma'am. The thing is, when we started working with this, and I mean, I was talking no experience, no nothing, no background in the food, no background in construction, anything. But there was so many, I guess, miscommunication, not misunderstanding, miscommunication between what could be done and what could be approved, and what got approved, and then later back by not. When we were working on Morning Glory, we were very misled. I feel we were very misled and tricked as to what we did and how we were gonna benefit and be able to apply for tax credits if we did things a certain way. Then to only come back and see that, no, you're no longer qualified based on what you did. You were not supposed to remove stucco. You were not supposed to do certain things. You were supposed to leave some other doors. So it had been altered. We went through a lot of expenses. We redid the doors with mahogany, a lot of money. I'm talking the thousands to properly do it, and we did that with guidance as to how to remake the doors. I was misled to use certain wood. It was a lot of back and forth and bad communication as to what was a proper wood. We went and we were led to go and buy all cedar wood. Then no cedar wood, go back to hardwood and mahogany and do them by mahogany. So it was expense after expense after expense going through the board, or not going through the board, talking to basically the city, and it's not throwing anyone under the bus. It's just how it is. To then, even though we followed as much recommendations, it ended up being us not qualifying because of how much change was made. So basically, even though I did think we did a great job with Morning Glory building, it no longer has any historical significance. And as to what I know right now, we can't qualify because it's been modified way too much. Even though we did go back and reopen doors, we redid balconies, we did everything in the. I have a lot of pictures with the construction. It did not end up being of us being able to qualify with the state.
Okay, so explain to me, Juan, if they go back to take off the stucco, why is that a violation for the Texas Historical Commission?
Historical Commission says that building is you have a certain kind of a building, and they acknowledge the evolution of that building, and the building could somehow alter if really the owners of the families living in that structure alter the building within when they are significant to that kind of a city. And so when they see this kind of stucco in our buildings, and the first thing was I remember very well in the Olvera building with the discussion that I held 7 years ago with the board member Love, is they don't like, one thing is if I agree or not, but they don't like that if a building has a stucco, you remove the stucco from the building. Because they probably do not understand or do not know that what is happening in Brownsville, and that's at least my point of view, is that a lot of these buildings were stucco due to several reasons. One is because the brick itself is a weak element. And second, that after the hurricanes that we have, there was probably a reinterpretation from staff or from whoever that these buildings should look like San Antonio buildings with stucco and so, such as we have half moons in buildings and so, and that's not the case in the buildings that we have here.
Juan,
So once you fit the stucco in the past, and it has more than 50 years, that new skin becomes historical. So you cannot remove it. So I do think that if we want to help here, Mr. Zavala should be, okay, just, first of all, what you introduced, there were 3 set of doors per fenestration. Keep that simply because the right building is the same way. Is this the original layout? Absolutely not. But if now you build up, instead of three French doors, you build 4 French doors, you have part of the building with 4 and the other with 3. What's that, you know? It is important, the doors and so, well, it's not that it's important, it's that it's going to show like a potpourri, like a building that is nothing. Now, on top of that, the stucco was removed without the permit. And then the new pillars and the new column was fitted without the permit, without any kind of approval. And then the removal of the 2 right sets of the doors were removed without the permit, because the permit, the existing permit says you can change the, you know, how the door is going to be operable for the sake of the restaurant. And that was what it was approved. So the rest of it.
all right, question 1. How much historical damage has been done? How much damage has been done to the historical value of the building right now?
Well, if we keep if it's not so much to deny or to approve, such as just maintaining suspense, table the item as it is, have the battle with the Texas Commissions and say, look, we have all these kind of sample, and we have this. Can we build up a new facade with all brick and so, in this sense, preserving the fenestrations that we have, and instead of having 3, now we want 4 doors and so. I honestly feel that the Texas Commission would never say, yeah, just build a new skin to the building, even when you are showing some more maps. I have to be honest. I cannot say, no, probably we're going to get, I don't think so. Board member Love doesn't think in that way as well, because we have certain experience with that.
Yeah.
So what can you do right now? Okay,
we
you
go
remove
back
the
to what it
stucco, you
was.
remove the stucco and you left the old brick now show up instead of being protected, good or bad with the stucco, you know? But you remove stucco that probably is from the 60s, have more than 50 years ago. Do I like the stucco? No, but this is not what I like or not. This is what is there and what the Secretary of Interior standard says. So in this case, I mean, the damage has been done. So the decision is, what are we going to do there? And then what are the fenestrations going to look like? You know?
Okay, so a couple of points. I think that was very interesting what you presented about the fact that the facade that we see right now is very recent. In fact, I remember when the city of Brownsville, after they purchased the building, took out the knee walls, changed the doors, changed the facade. It's relatively recent. Okay, so I'd actually forgotten about that. The issues I think are going to land on this. Do we allow a restoration is sort of out of a restoration to what? So the word restoration is a really hard word for this building. Do we allow a reinterpretation that kind of maybe takes it back to a different view. It's a real problem. The other thing is, you remember last night we were talking about Texas Historic Commission, and Juan knows this, does really not understand our border brick tradition. They do not understand the issue of plastering. And there are some real issues. I sort of know where they're going to land.
Okay, so
Going to
we're not,
land- They're going to land in a place that is not going to be, it can go to the Texas Historic Commission. It's not going anywhere. Not gonna get approved.
So may I remind also
What?
that the survey of 2018 was done in 2018, and this facade, the original facade that you saw with those 3 sets of doors and so on, stucco building, that was there when the surveyor went to update the survey.
In 18.
And that was a medium preservation priority ranking. So independently, if the discussion is, okay, the stucco, yeah or not, well, I would not touch the stucco, or I would bring back the stucco. But in any case, that's stuff to be discussed with the Fixation Commission.
Well-
And the doors, well, I remember seeing photographs of the 80s or 90s, and there were not even 3 sets of doors there. But the stuff is that when the surveyor went and got this building as a medium, it showed like it was, with the stucco and then with the 3 sets of doors, you know?
I
So
remember
if
Roman-
it is going to be 4, well, we can always argue with them, hey, these were doors that were fitted on, whatever. But if you remove the stucco and you don't bring back, you are going to diminish the problem. That's for sure.
so it needs to be stuccoed.
I don't feel, I mean, it's obvious sense. I mean,
Well, because
the people
I
pass-
kind of agree that we cannot go back to the, brick, because then that is kind of like a Disney version of border brick.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And there is where the problem is going to land. That's why I'm saying the word restoration is really kind of been lost here. It is what do we feel like is going to be the appropriate end point for this
So,
this building? Because I can remember Roman McAllen coming to me and asking me about these doors.
And saying, why are they putting them in?
No, and saying, what do you think I'm putting these in? And I'm saying, okay, but don't build them like this. Well, you can see he built them like this and now they haven't lasted.
Okay, but then he also has the neighbor that is already stuccoed.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. It has a huge problem in relation to restoration at this point.
yeah, so.
So he's likely not gonna get a marker.
He's not gonna
You might get a marker if you went back to this, but I'm not even sure that would be true. And so, but the point is the owner, and I don't mean to just putting words in your mouth. You sort of understand that you're not going in the direction of a marker and a tax incentive.
But I am.
No, yes, and that was a good point, because Calvin also made that point. What about later? And so what I'm saying is this is really a complicated.
Yes,
What,
and we think the stucco has been there 50 years. That is our estimate.
my thing is, I want to make sure that we keep downtown Brownsville as historical as possible. We have to, but because of the work that's already been done without authorization, we have to find a happy medium somewhere where we can,
Well, I mean, right now, I think it looks odd if we have stucco here and then we go back to brick.
yeah,
That looks odd.
don't look very awesome.
See, the problem here, though, in my opinion, is from the time it was originally built up to today, it's had several
Facade.
differences.
Yes.
And so which one do you pick?
Well, you can't, after the 50 years, it's what was then.
Stucco.
No, if it was brick 50 years ago, and we say it's less than a 50-year thing,
Yeah.
but I do think it looks, I think if we can't say that this is a historically correct facade, what we can say is it looked, I mean, I mean, after the 50 years, it's what was then. No, if it was brick 50 years ago, and we say it's less than a 50-year thing, but and we say it's less than a 50-year thing, but I do think it looks, I think if we can't say that this is a historical correct, historically correct facade, what we can say is it cohesive. And now we're gonna have brick and stucco in the same building. That looks very odd. Does not look right if you do that.
My concern, Mr. Zavala, and you're not wanting to pursue any kind of marker or anything. We had a similar situation a couple of years, 3 or 4 years ago, where a home that was the original home of the former federal judge, it was in
Los Ebanos.
Los Ebanos neighborhood, and a young attorney was remodeling it with his dad, and he came before us, and I said, do you want to try to get a marker? And he said, no, I'm not interested. I said, well, you may not be interested now, but if you ever want to sell the house and it has a marker, it's more valuable. He said, I'm not interested. Well, he eventually sold the house. I mean, in a period of 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
And so it was bought by another attorney. And that attorney has no idea that the person he bought it from had no interest in remodeling or fixing up the steel casement windows, and he put in aluminum windows. And so the new buyer has no opportunity to get some tax breaks or whatever. And he didn't make any extra money because the house wasn't, no longer historically significant. So
I'm thinking we're not going to reach a conclusion
Today.
because this is a really complex thing. And I'm thinking we need to work with, I think we need to work with Hector and try to figure out, because this is so hard to figure out exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
I understand, and he
I think
wants,
we need to take,
he wants a decision and we're not gonna make one. And I do appreciate your efforts in downtown, and I'm so glad of your success. And I love your floor in Morning Glory, it's so pretty. And I do appreciate that, but I have a different point of view as opposed to being a patron, as being on the Historic Commission here, the Heritage Review Council, Historic Preservation Commission.
okay,
And we need to do what's best.
in the interest of time, we need to vacate this room. So
Okay,
let's have a motion to table.
I make a motion that we table this.
Is there a second?
second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. We'll get together with you, Mr. Zavala, and try to resolve this issue, but it, like Mr. Loft said, there's a number of issues here that we need to discuss. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes.
Yeah.
Adjourn?
But it's,
They adjourn?
then it's really nothing.